My name is Marcelo. I'm from Brazil. I'm the co-founder of Ecoagricola, which is a coffee grower and exporter in Brazil. Um, I've studied production engineering, and since I'm young, I always liked entrepreneurial things. I'm always curious about making things, and I've been into coffee for 15 years. When my brother Roberto and I founded the Ecoagricola farm in the Serra do Cabral.
So could you tell us a little bit about how Ecoagricola and Serra do Cabral got started?
Yes, my father had lands in the Serra do Cabral in this region since the 70s, and around the 90s, my brother and I started to work with him, and so we were working in forestry projects there, reforestating and that kind of thing. And in the 2000s, we started to think about diversifying and doing something that we could use, more of quality in the product. And we studied many options, and we found coffee, and that was a great fit with the region. The Serra do Cabral is a plateau in the middle of Minas Gerais state. It stands at 1100 above sea level, 1100 meters above sea level. It has a very nice climate because it's warm during the day and cool during the night. So that's amazing for producing sugars in the fruits, as coffee is a fruit. And also, it has a good rain regime, whereas it's really wet during the summer and it's really dry during the winter when it's harvest time. So it's perfect for harvesting and drying coffee in a completely drying atmosphere. Uh, Also, the area didn't have any coffee farmers before. We were pioneers in planting coffee there. So the area is all surrounded by nature preserves that actually our family preserved that since the 70s, when at that time it was not that fashionable to make sustainable projects and etc. But my father had this in mind. He's a preservationist, so he took large areas of the land and just didn't touch and protect it. So what happens now is that the area is really beautiful. It's uh, completely preserved. There are many species of trees. There's many streams, rivers, waterfalls, and a lot of wild animals that live there just by themselves. They are not put there. They just live there. And the biologists that study the area say that in a place as ours, where the puma is present, the concolor puma, is a proof that all the animal chain is very well preserved, because
Okay.
this animal, this cat, is on the top of the food chain. So for them to live and prosper, they must have large areas and other animals. So it's really nice to be producing coffee and preserving land at the same time.
Yeah. So you were mentioning that there was no coffee in this region before. Can you talk a little bit about how Minas Gerais and Chapada de Minas compares to other regions of Brazil which have a lot of coffee, like towards the south, like Sul de Minas and places like that, or Cerrado?
Yes. Well, Brazil is the largest producing country in coffee and also the largest exporter, and we're also the second in consuming country after the U.S. And Minas Gerais state is the largest state, the largest producing country state in Brazil. So it's and inside of it, Minas Gerais is about the size of France. So inside Minas Gerais, there are many regions, but mostly they are divided into four. So there's Sul de Minas, the south of Minas. There is Matas de Minas to the east, the Cerrado through around the west, and then there is Chapada de Minas, which is around center north of Minas Gerais. And the most traditional places are Sul de Minas and Matas de Minas. Cerrado came during probably around the 70s, where people started to grow coffee there. And Chapada de Minas is a bit newer. And our specific region, the Serra do Cabral, is a plateau. It's a small plateau, which is part of Chapada de Minas. Okay, so we are in a micro region, I can say. Serra do Cabral is a micro region.
I haven't seen a lot of washed coffee out of Brazil. It seems fairly new and unusual. Why would you decide to start producing washed coffee where you are? Does it work better in Chapada de Minas compared to other parts of Brazil, or is it just something that you decided to do independently?
Yes. Well, I think there are not many people doing fully washed coffees, as we call here, because we um, normally in Brazil we produce natural coffees and pulp and natural coffees, and then there are other methods. We at Ecoagricola we really like to experiment. I think we're curious. We like to see things, and once I had a chance to make a trip to Colombia. That was a prize from an award that we won for being first place coffee in Minas Gerais, and the government gave us a prize, us and other farmers, to go and make a technical trip to Colombia. Uh, so I saw many other kinds of processing, and I said, "Well, we got to try this in Brazil, see if it works." So we started with water tanks in very small quantities, in less than nanolots, and the results were cool and were nice and different from the regular coffees. So we then experimented over the years. That started around four years ago, and we finally built proper tanks to make it properly and in some decent size, some micro lot sizes. And I'm not sure if for that process specifically that the our climate has something to do, but through the experiments and many ways of doing, of time and hours that we left the coffee in the tanks. We did many experiments. We found our recipe of doing it. Of course, every year is a different year. Coffee is not like a factory where we can, make a recipe and then repeat it ever again. Every year we find a little bit different results, but I think we are maturing and people are enjoying it. So, of course, when we started to experiment, we sent to our clients to see if they liked, and we could not just produce and don't have a client to take it. But now a lot of people are enjoying it and drinking fully washed coffee from Serra do Cabral, uh, thanks to Driftaway, which is one of our very, very dear clients who enjoy them and is repeating it
Yeah,
for a few seasons now.
yeah, it was great last year. We were really excited to roast it again. Um, Yeah, the first
Yes.
time I ever had washed coffee from Brazil was a tiny little experiment that wasn't even like from a mill. It was just something that somebody brought up a tiny bag of, and after that,
Hmm.
when I saw that you guys were doing it, I really was like, oh, I can get this again. I could actually roast it in production. This is going to be amazing because
Yeah.
you really can't find it anywhere. It's super rare. Um,
Yes, and what I think, Ian, is what is really beautiful in the specialty coffee is that when we join, grower and roaster, and we can make this partnership of doing things and planting and processing coffees the way that the roaster wants and needs, so they can give a feedback, and next season we do it again, we change a little bit. So that's really beautiful because
yeah.
we connect uh, the whole chain, doing something very nice for the coffee lover in the end. So I really really enjoyed that kind of partnership. Every cup of coffee that's served with our coffee, it's such a joy for us and for all our community. You couldn't imagine when we see a bag of coffee with the name of the farm, with Ecoagricola, or with the name of the region, Serra do Cabral. This is a real joy. This is probably much more important than business itself, because it's all the work of a lot of people, a good team that's a whole year of work, and then we see people enjoying that coffee. That's amazing. That's really really nice.
Is there anything else you feel like you would personally like to add, like that you think you would want our customers to know?
Yes, I'd like to talk a little bit about sustainability, if you're good with that.
Yeah, but I do want to talk about if you have any experiences with climate change in the last few years, any challenges that you faced with that, as well as any other sustainability stuff you want to talk about.
Okay, let me talk about climate change first.
Yeah.
And then I talk about some of our sustainable practices, and the uh, we've been seeing climate change, events happening. What we see in some years is a diminishing of rainfall that we used maybe 20 years ago, 30 years ago. And for instance, on this season, we usually harvest coffees between June and September. And this season, we had to delay almost a month and started to picking coffee, because coffee had not developed as it used to be in previous years. So I think climate change is a real challenge for coffee growers all over the world, because it's changing more the difference between season and season. Of course, coffee growing, it's not an exact science, and every season is a different one. But I think with climate change, it's making this more, how can I say, more challenging than ever before. And I probably in the future, it will increase this change of every season.
Yeah, things are going to become more unpredictable.
Unpredictable. Yes. Well. Actually, we use all our techniques and expertise, and intelligence to deal with these challenges and the changes. But being a farmer and having a farm, it's really this. We have to deal with this every day.
Yeah.
A farm in Portuguese, the name of farm is fazenda.
Mm-hmm.
Fazenda means doing. So a farm is an ongoing thing. We're doing things. We are fazendo coisas, doing things. So that's what we do every day and every season. One of the things that we most care of is about sustainable practices, and preserving nature, and have excellent human relations within our coffee farm, and not only inside the coffee farm but abroad. So we preserve huge areas of untouched land. I mentioned before, land where there are wild animals such as the concolor puma, and also we have a privately owned reserve called the Bohalha Reserve, and it's a place where birds that migrate from North to South America, they stop to feed and rest. So we have nice streams and waterfalls, and we are also certified by Rainforest Alliance and UTZ. And 2 years ago, we got a special award from Rainforest Alliance as a high achievement in sustainability prize, and they chose us as one of the 10 top farms in terms of sustainable practices, which we're very glad. We also got a prize from Rainforest Alliance for best certified coffee in Brazil in 2017, and we are considered, one example of sustainable coffee farming in Brazil, which we are very very glad, and that's really into our DNA. Uh, we have a long partnership with Ili Cafe from Italy, and they chose us as their sustainable supplier of the year. And also when Andrea Ili visited our farm, he coined that the Serra do Cabral is a coffee paradise, which we really enjoyed that phrase and that title. So I think coffee producing and nature conservancy is something that has to go together. They're not separate things. They are things together because we have to leave our land to future generations the way it is, and probably better than it is. So we even have a specific nursery for native species that we collect seeds all over the area in different months, and we grow these seeds up to seedlings. Then we donate these seedlings to neighbors, to schools, to city councils, to parks, and we have also our sustainable education programs where we take these seedlings to kids and they plant their own trees so they can keep seeing it growing near their houses for many years to come. So they will understand how important it is to conserve and to have very nice sustainable practices. So
That's really interesting. So you are preserving sort of natural plants from the area, and then also helping to spread them around.
yes,
So what kind of plants would these be? What do you focus on mainly?
these are natural plants from the Serra do Cabral, like
Yeah.
like umburana, ipê, quaresma, different species that we collect, and we, some of them were really hard to make in a nursery. Of course, they grow as natural plants, but when we took the seeds to the nursery,
Yeah.
to make them grow, it took us several years to develop some of these, and it's amazing to see these seedlings and the smile in the face of kids when they receive a seedling, they plant them, and then they accompany it for the years to come, and they grow together with the tree. That's
Cool.
really beautiful.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's neat. So most of these are they're trees that you're. It's like a tree nursery. That's the type of plant that you're. All of the plants you listed, they're trees.
they're trees.
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, trees and small trees, but mostly things that are durable and that we can enhance our own farm, which is already very well preserved. So we also donate. That's a totally non-profit thing that we do because it's something that we want to have the future at least as it is now, but probably better. And
Yeah.
having there is a state park which is around 15 kilometers from our farm, the Serra do Cabral State Park, which we are members of the board since its inception in 2005, and we also donated to the park to have their own nursery. We started donating seedlings to the park initiatives, and we joined forces in the sustainable education programs. And then we wanted them to have their own nursery. So we donated. It wasn't a big thing, but we donated the materials to build them, the first 1,000 seedlings, and of course the techniques that we've been using for more than 10 years in that. So it's really nice to see that that word spreading and people talking about it and people talking about planting the natural trees of the region, making the fields nicer. Uh, it's very nice. I think all these things that we work with are as important as growing specialty coffee.